Hey, this is Lucas with questions from atheist.com. Got a new question from an anonymous reader. So here it is. Why is the story of the Bible very similar to many other religions that predate the Bible? The simple answer? It isn't. This is a claim that is often made by bloggers and non-scholars, to be honest. I've encountered it a number of times. We did a video recently that sort of dismantles the claim that Jesus' story was plagiarized from Horus, an Egyptian mythological god. When you go and read the original mythological stories, the similarities are superficial at best. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you hear someone saying that Jesus' story is a retelling of Mithra or Horus or whatever, do this. Go and find an overview. Wikipedia is a pretty good place for this. An overview of Mithra or Horus or Osiris. Read their stories for yourself without the atheist cheat sheet. Read the story of Jesus separately and see if you see any similarities. I personally laughed out loud when I went through the supposed similarities. I did this myself. Here's an example of this ridiculous argument in action. So in Egyptian mythology, the god Osiris is murdered by the god Set and cut into 42 different pieces. The goddess Isis, Osiris' wife, searches out the pieces and reanimates her dead husband Osiris' body. She has sex with him and gives birth to Horus. Now, for those who claim Jesus was plagiarized from Horus' story, that's what they cite as the source for the virgin birth of Jesus. Notice that Isis would clearly not have been a virgin. Most, if not all, of these claims are such a stretch you couldn't even rest a hair on them without breaking the so-called connection. They're simply wishful thinking on the part of over-eager atheists. Maybe the most similar non-biblical account in antiquity is the Sumerian flood story. You might have heard of it. Even that has these huge differences from the biblical story. However, there's good explanation for this. If something big like a flood happened in human history, it would make sense that there would be other versions of the story in other parts of the world. You can bet that if it happened, then people would continue to talk about it, and the story would morph and change through the passage of time in other cultures. So it's not really a surprise that we find flood stories in other ancient writings. Another point I would make is that the ancient origin stories from extant cultures all have political agendas. They generally were written to legitimize the political claim to the throne of whoever was in power at the time. This is really quite different from the biblical origin stories, which are systematic, and they often speak negatively of the actual main character. Secondly, the Bible has a wholly unique cosmology origin story in terms of ancient religious writings. Other religious writings generally claimed that the universe was eternal. It always had existed. That was the prevailing idea for thousands of years. However, now scientists are confident that the universe actually had a beginning, big idea, popularly called the Big Bang. The Bible stands uniquely alone in that it presented an ex nihilo viewpoint, meaning from nothing. The Bible was right when all the other ancient books were so far off. So, on the contrary to the question, I feel like it's pretty clear that the Bible is unique in what it presents.